Well, our next presentation is about collaboration, just what we're talking about, and the creative process that you guys at Google are making possible. Buzz is the global lead for media and entertainment at Google Cloud when he's not chairing the AIS. So, Buzz, what say you? Let's turn it over to you.
Let's do that. Welcome back. I'm here to talk about collaboration for content production in the cloud. Please feel free to put any questions or comments you have into the chat on your screen, as I'll be answering those questions in a few minutes. Back in the old Hollywood studio system 60 years ago, films were made at studios and people from every department came to work each day to work together. Writers, directors, actors, cinematographers, editors, and tradespeople gathered at the studio lot to make the films that we know and love. At the end of the day, all of the assets created for the film were contained within the studio environment. All of the primary functions of the production were also contained within the studio environment. That model has changed over the years to an independent model where production companies have their own offices. Studios eliminated the idea of having studio production employees on staff and instead have hired independent professionals to do almost all of the production work on a picture-by-picture basis. Film and television production is driven by creative personalities. Their mission every day is to solve problems, lots and lots of problems. This creative problem solving is the essence of the craft of storytelling. Technology may come and go, but the need to collaborate in production is truly fundamental. At Google, we think about collaboration a lot. One of our primary initiatives in content creation is to figure out methods for connecting people so that they can collaborate in new ways. The Movie Lab's 2030 white paper, released last year, in a way is a chance to revisit the old studio system. The industry is interested in the migration of the entire infrastructure of content production and post-production in the cloud. In order to do that, however, we need to think beyond just transporting processes verbatim into the cloud. Now is the time to reinvent these processes and to revisit the relationship between the creative and the technology. It's an important opportunity to improve the way we produce creative content. At Google, we're actively developing solutions toward this goal of bringing the ecosystem of creative production and post-production to the cloud with a wide variety of solutions and technologies. But it's not just about the technology. It's about the people and how they collaborate. At Google, I work with a global workforce every day, as I'm sure many of you do as well. People we work with are in far-flung locations all around the world. In the visual effects and animation business, it's not uncommon to have teams in different time zones chasing the sun to meet deadlines. This presents some challenges when you need to stay in touch at both ends of the time zone map. Workflow has its challenges with inefficiencies in the process of sending large media files to and from facilities around the planet. How much time is spent staring at progress bars? It makes a lot of sense to move to a modern version of the old studio system where the people and the applications come to the data. There's a single source of truth for all the media assets created during production and post-production. People should have access to the assets they need when they need them so that they can focus on iterating the creative process. That's where cloud comes into the process. This is one of my favorite quotes from author Douglas Adams. We're stuck with technology when what we really want is just stuff that works. Our company mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. This applies to everything we do. Information is the key to successful collaboration. But if people can't find the information, then that's a problem. Our methods of communication convey lots of useful information. However, we need to think about how to organize that information to make it available to those who need it. We have lots of remote working tools available, some of which work better than others for creative collaboration. One of the bigger challenges is in the communication methods we use. There's no right way to communicate, but it's important to think about the methods that best serve the creative process. From phone calls to video meetings to emails and chats, there are many siloed places to look for information, notes, and records of what was discussed. There are pros and cons to every method, so it's important to think about which tools best serve your collaboration needs. For example, with voicemail, one of the positive things about that is it's a direct method of communication and it's concise. One of the downsides is that it's difficult to transcribe and it's even more difficult to share it with other people. Phone calls are very immediate, which is great, but nobody seems to answer the phone anymore. So that's not a great solution. Email, it's immediate, it's concise, or it can be, but sometimes it's a little too concise. Chats, they're very immediate, and it's a great way of communicating when you have something in the moment, but they tend to be ephemeral. So whatever information you put in the chat might disappear. Video conferencing, one of the greatest things about video conferencing is that you have a sense of presence with the people you're working with, which is great. But one of the downsides is there's a significant lack of eye contact, and that level of connection is really important when you're collaborating. These tools don't fundamentally change how people collaborate. I'd go so far as to say that in some cases, they can make true collaboration more difficult. Misinterpreted text messages, unclear shorthand expressions or crazy acronyms, garbled video signals, it's not exactly ideal or even what we're used to, but sometimes we have to use what we have in order to keep moving. With video conferencing, well, we all rely heavily on video conferencing these days, and it's important to get the most out of your video meetings. Nearly every conferencing system allows participants to join via phone and computer, and when joining via video, remember that lighting is important. Eye contact is a very important part of face-to-face meetings, but it's difficult to achieve in video conferencing. Creative collaboration really requires the human connection. So make sure that if you're using a webcam, everyone can see your face. It sounds simple, but notice how many times you've been in video calls where someone is either silhouetted against a window or is looking up or down or sideways at their computer screen while you're talking to them. We've all gotten used to our coworkers' guest rooms, kids' rooms, kitchens, and dens as their background, and often the lighting is less than ideal. So at least try and position yourself so the lighting is on your face, not the background. If you're so inclined, there's some simple lighting kits available now for webcam use, and they really do make a difference. Sound is important for collaboration too. Every voice matters in ideation, so it's important to use good quality microphones or a headset with a microphone, and use background noise filters if they're available in your video conferencing application. Your mute button should be part of your muscle memory by now, but to be honest, I only use it when there are more than 5 or 6 people in the meeting, because an open mic tends to foster collaboration in ideation sessions, and the flow isn't broken by looking for the unmute button, which frankly is something we all struggle with. Now, the recording of meetings is worth considering. Most all video conferencing applications and systems allow the recording of meetings. It's important to note that if you plan to record a meeting, you need to let the participants know that that's the plan and get their permission to do so. In my experience, this is great for large group meetings where policies, training, and demos are involved, as it's a great way to revisit the material or to extend the meeting to those who couldn't make it. However, when it comes to creative meetings, brainstorming, or ideation sessions, be sensitive to the fact that people won't talk as freely when they know that the meeting is being recorded. It's best to find other ways to track what happens in the creative meetings. In my case, I like to share an agenda document in Google Docs with the group prior to the meeting. Then I invite the participants to the meeting to add their notes to the document during the meeting, which tends to get the collaborative juices flowing. Sharing screens to illustrate points, using virtual whiteboards to ideate visually is a great way to engage and is very similar to what people are used to when they meet in person. For creative meetings via video conferencing, remember that you're collaborating in a visual environment, so take advantage of that as much as you can. Shared documents. As I mentioned, I have found that using a shared document during a meeting is a really useful way to collaborate, and it gives a foundation upon which other ideas can be added after the meeting ends. It can be used as a repository for thoughts and action items and links and doodles. There are too many places to look for meeting notes, from emails to chats to voicemails, so a shared document gives the team a single source for revisiting thoughts and ideas from collaboration sessions. Make sure that people have easy access to these documents, as well as to the related content and team directories and distribution lists and other relevant documentation discussed in the sessions. One of the most effective ways to enhance collaboration is not to focus on the technology, but is to focus on the human dynamic of collaborative work. Remember that during production there are thousands of decisions to be made, and most of them involve consensus or collaboration. At the moment, we can't just tap someone on the shoulder to discuss the lens choice, the framing, the actor's wardrobe. The impromptu act of spontaneous collaboration is very valuable and is particularly vulnerable at this time where teams are unable to be in one place at one time. Our human-to-human interactions may be diminished for now, but there are ways to improve on what we have. Focus on creating better opportunities for face-to-face interactions. We can leverage VR and AR technologies into the creative process. Game Engine Previz offers interactive collaboration capabilities. Virtual scouting via tools like Google Maps SDK for Unity gives you the tools to create and customize a geographically accurate world based on real-world locations. Use immersive tech like 360 VR cameras on set and give access to those crew members who require it without having to be there physically. Platforms like MeetMo, which we're using here today, allow access to all types of camera feeds to allow remote access to on-set environments. Remote work is our new normal. We should take advantage of this opportunity to improve upon the process of how we create content. That brings us to a call to action. Think about how to improve collaboration by considering the human interaction element. Look at the tools you're using today and ask yourself how they can be improved. Explore new ways to enhance that experience and talk with the software vendors about your ideas. It's important to take this opportunity to reflect on why and how we create content. I'll leave you with this quote from Charles Darwin to reflect on. It's the long history of humankind, and animal kind too, that those who learn to collaborate and improvise most effectively have prevailed.